On the morning of 9/11, I was working on a job called Broadway on Broadway. I woke up that morning, I turned my TV on. The first thing, it was a beautiful, incredibly beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky. And I saw the towers on fire. And they were reporting that that plane had crashed into the tower. And immediately I thought it was terrorism. Many other people did not. At the time it was happening, people just thought it was an accident, but I had no such illusion. It was quite clear to me that you could not mistakenly fly into the World Trade Center. All of our lives just changed in an instant. Directly behind me, right here, would have been where Tower 1 was. People would have come out of here from the train or whatever. They would have directly crossed the street and come up here to this overpass, which would then take them to either World Financial Plaza or the atrium across the street. At any time during the day, this entire street was filled with traffic and vendors. To the right of the Liberty Tower would have been, right there would have been World Tower 2. In between the train station and that would have been World Tower 2. The Koenig Sphere, as it's known, has a definite place in my heart. When I used to work in this building in World Trade Tower, in Financial Plaza 1, I would occasionally have my lunch over here on warm summer days because it was the coolest place you could get to, because there was so much shade here. As you can see, it was terribly damaged, but for years it sat as a memorial to the events of 9/11. It was in Battery Park for about 15 years, and it just recently was brought back here. So we're still on Liberty Street here, directly across the street from where World Trade Center Tower 1 would have been. This was the St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church. At the time, it was the oldest Greek Orthodox church in New York City, and I believe the country. We have since rebuilt it, and it is now called the Greek Orthodox Church and National Shrine. It's open to the public from 10 to 3 on weekdays. Unfortunately, it's not open right now. Inside is a beautiful mosaic. The church has been entirely rebuilt. I highly recommend, if you're in the city visiting and you have an opportunity, come and check it out. So again, as we're sitting here on the corner of at Liberty Street, directly behind us would have been Tower 1. This area after 9/11 was called Ground Zero. About 2 years after it was completely excavated, we had cleaned the entire area out before we obviously built all this. And at the time we called it the pit. And it was a completely excavated area. There was nothing here, nothing here. It was just a complete empty hole about 25 feet down. Where you see the memorial now, they had something called the tub, which was, they had built back when the World Trade Center was built to protect the towers from flooding from the Hudson River. I should add that it took basically 2 years, almost to the day, for them to excavate the entire site and clear out all the debris. The debris field itself was, I believe, possibly 10 square blocks, going back all the way to Wall Street. And when they were finally done, it was just a pristine open pit. As I mentioned, I used to occasionally have lunch in the World Trade Center courtyard. And I used to sit at the base of the buildings and look up and try to imagine the sheer enormity of these buildings ever coming down. And quite honestly, it was not something that I ever could conceive. So when it did happen, it was a surreal moment in my life and millions of other New Yorkers. After all of the controversy, I mean, there were so many moments where we were starting to rebuild and then we stopped. There were so many different ideas of what this was going to be that I have to say that the finished product is about as good as anybody could have hoped. Despite what the people who did this intended, they completely transformed this part of the city into a completely different thing, because when the World Trade Center was here, this was a predominantly business-oriented area. It's now a residential community. It's a multi-purpose area. It has a whole different energy than it did 25 years ago. And I don't think that the people who built this originally or the people that brought it down ever could have imagined how it's developed. So now we're down on the other side of Liberty Street from where we just were. We're at the open memorial right here. This would have been literally the entrance to Tower 1, right here. This is how you entered the building into the main lobby. Tower 2 is right off there, over there in the distance. We're standing in a spot here where this looks like this was one of the engine companies where all the firemen, as you can see, engine company, ladder company. This looks like where the dedication to the firemen is. A lot of people might be unaware, but the events of 9/11 were actually not the first attack on the World Trade Center. There was another attack in 1994 where some men drove a van into the basement, the parking garage of World Trade Center 1, and then blew the bomb up. They killed a bunch of people. It took about 2 years for them to redo the entire lobby and underpass of World Trade Center 1. So as you can see behind me, over here is World Trade Center Tower 4. This is World Trade Center Tower 3. Both these buildings were taken down also after the events of 9/11, and everything here, as you can see, is totally brand new and restored from that tragedy. Corner of Greenwich and Fulton Street. Behind me you'll see the second memorial. That's where Tower 2 was. Over here would have been where the plaza was, where the sphere that we showed you up on the other side normally sat. And this is where everybody would have been sitting, having lunch, etc. Now we have the brand new train station, the Oculus. Inside you have great shops and restaurants. Over here is the Memorial Museum. And directly behind us is the new Perlman Performing Arts Center. The area has been transformed, and a lot of it is for the better. It's a terrible, tragic event, but New York City, as it's always done in its history, has taken a terrible event and turned it into a positive thing. I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I'm old enough to remember the towers when they were built. I watched the life of the towers from the beginning to the end. This is a place of quiet reflection. It was a tragic day. Over 3,000 lives were lost. The city was transformed forever. If you do take the time to come down here and visit, please respect what happened here. Respect the memory of these people. Respect what the city has accomplished in renovating this area and the spirit that we bring to it. Just reflect on the idea of the sacrifice, the lives that were lost, and what has risen out of those ashes.